Welcome into Browns Live Training Camp presented by CrossCountry Mortgage. And let me just say, we are thrilled to be partnering with CrossCountry Mortgage. We're now on campus. This facility, for the first time in the 75 years of the Cleveland Browns, it has a name, and that name is the CrossCountry Mortgage Campus. And I'm thrilled to be here alongside my co-host, Ken Carman, a man who needs no introduction, but who will get one anyway. You know him from 92.3 The Fan, the Browns Radio Network. He will be on the sideline for preseason game number 2, the Browns and the Giants, and the man who does the best Dusty Rhodes impersonation on the planet. Ken, it is great to see you, great to be with you. The fans are here. Yeah. How exciting is it? Look at this, football happening behind us. What a scene.
It's absolutely amazing. To see the fans, to see the players, to see it all back live. You know, I was one of the people. I only came out once last year, and then it started raining. I thought I was an omen. I decided not to come back again. And then here we are. We got the fans out here. I'm hearing the Here We Go Brownies chants over the last day. And here we go again. 2021, such an exciting year, and it starts with an exciting training camp.
It certainly does. And our head coach, Kevin Stefanski, he has a saying, if you're juiceless, you're useless. And the Browns thrilled to have their fans back, bringing that juice to this very exciting team. And we're going to go through this roster. We're going to get you some news in a little bit. But let's start things off hearing from the head coach talking right to you, the best fans in all of professional sports.
Browns fans, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Great to have everybody back out here. We missed you guys. We missed your energy. We missed your noise. Make sure you bring that noise to First Energy Stadium when we see you guys in September, all right? You and your 65,000 other fans. So today is Back Together Saturday, and we want to welcome you guys to CrossCountry Mortgage Campus. We're so happy that you're here. There's a very, very special group that's here, and it's the Frontline Heroes. Can you stand up, Frontline Heroes? I know you guys are out here somewhere. Thank you. We could not be here without the Frontline Heroes that are here, so we thank you. I know the team thanks you. We appreciate you guys being here. We have a lot of work to do. We're going to do it right now, so if you excuse us, we're going to get to work. Appreciate you guys being here.
That's the head coach of your Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski, the reigning coach of the year in the NFL. And you know what, Ken, I'm reminded at the finale, when the clock hit 0-0 and the Browns had clinched that playoff berth, the great Jim Donovan made that immortal call. The only thing missing is all of you. And that will not be the case this year. You heard Coach talking to them about getting First Energy loud. And boy, what a sight that's going to be to see our stadium full of these great fans making a lot of noise and giving us one of the true home field advantages in the National Football League.
It's so true. It's the only thing missing was the 65,000 people. And then to see what Coach said to all the fans today, you know, you got a nice group of 2,000 here. They're loud, they're boisterous. It's going to be amazing over at First Energy Stadium coming up this fall, because this is part of the fun. This is what you dream about when you become a coach in the NFL, when you start out as a video assistant all the way up to being a head coach, is that you want to be the type of guy who makes it fun. And he gets to have a little bit of fun today at training camp. Looking forward to this season with him, and I know he's looking forward to all the work that they're about to do throughout today and throughout the rest of training camp.
Yeah, and that's what this is about. We're here at training camp. This is laying the foundation for what should be a very exciting, very productive, and winning season for your Cleveland Browns. Let's get you caught up on the news of the day. As you see practice going on behind us right now, we're going to give you a lot of practice action throughout Browns Live Training Camp presented by CrossCountry Mortgage. Some news of the day, some veterans getting rest days today. Myles Garrett, Grant Delpit, as well as Odell Beckham Jr., the latter two coming off of those big surgeries. The Browns have kind of had them on a day on, day off plan so far. Ronnie Harrison out today with a hamstring injury suffered late in yesterday's practice. And Tack McKinley, who was back today and actually had some nice plays in the early going here, jogged in with the trainer, and he left early yesterday with an illness, likely still battling that same thing here for the Browns. But we'll have the latest for you at clevelandbrowns.com and, of course, the Browns mobile app. A little transactional news. Derek Willis, the wide receiver, who remember had that big catch back in 2018 against the Ravens to set up the Browns win. He has retired. The team has signed wide receiver Davion Davis, a first-year player out of Sam Houston State who had spent time on the Minnesota Vikings practice squad in 2019 when, of course, Kevin Stefanski was the offensive coordinator there. It is our fourth day of camp, Ken, and I'm going to ask you, what has stood out to you so far over the first 3 days? What are the big themes you've seen with this Browns team?
I think in talking talking with you a little bit throughout this is that I think there's been a little bit more of a grasp of the offense here with Baker Mayfield. I think he looks like he's in better command than what he was a couple of years ago. You go back to 2019, and there were just days that they felt like they were off schedule. Over the first couple of days of what we've been able to see, he knows where he wants to go with the football. There's been some times where he's gone to the football and the wide receiver isn't there because, you got Alexander Hollins who's running in there. Got Jamarcus Bradley who's a fresh face who's running in there. But the biggest thing, there's plenty of other things, but the biggest one that we've all seen in the media watching this camp is that he knows this offense. He knows where he wants to put the football every single play.
Yeah, the word I would use for that is command. Baker Mayfield in complete command of this offense, and why wouldn't he be? It's the first time in his professional career he's in the same system. He's got the same coaching staff. He's got the same skill position players, and when you talk about running it back on offenses, you see Baker with Hollywood Higgins there, a man who he's had an incredible connection with throughout their tenure here together with the Cleveland Browns. You're looking at wide receivers, for example, top 5 receivers from a year ago, all back. Top 3 running backs from a year ago, all back. The quarterback room is unchanged. Your top 7 offensive linemen are back. All 4 tight ends are back. So that means basically 20 guys off of this offense from a year ago. They're all back. The coaching staff is back, and you can see it, the command in the press conferences, but then the command on the field. And I know 7-on-7s, they'll tell you, these are offensive drills all day long, but the ball's not supposed to hit the ground, and it's not.
One of the things that I think we've noticed here over the first 3 years of his career was he wanted to be a leader. And I think that has to happen naturally, and now we're finally getting to see the chance for it to happen naturally. I think that it hasn't been like it's a completely different Baker and things are crazy, but you're seeing just a more natural thing where he's the leader. He's the guy. The guys follow him, and I love the picture of what we get to see with Hollywood Higgins because that's how you tell a franchise quarterback from some of the different ones there. Hollywood Higgins knows that Baker Mayfield's good for him. Baker Mayfield knows that Hollywood Higgins is good for him, and here you have a guy later on, kind of lost it a little bit at the beginning of his career, finding this home with Baker Mayfield, finding this home within this offense. It's certainly not a coincidence.
It isn't, and you saw it even in terms of his comfort at the podium, just the maturity, the command that he has. This is his team. He is back in this offense, and we're seeing kind of over our shoulders, they're going to open up a 7-on-7 period here, so we're going to bring you coverage of that. And we're going to get an opportunity to look at a lot of the new faces on this defense today, and that's another one of the big themes. How does this come together, especially on the back end? The back 7, that's who you're going to see challenged here in this 7-on-7 drill as Baker Mayfield gets ready to take the snap here, and you're talking about guys like John Johnson, a returning Greedy Williams. We won't see Grant Delpit today. Greg Newsome, Troy Hill, Anthony Walker Jr., who you see there, number 4, as Mayfield drops back and throws it out to the right, and a nice little completion to Jarvis Landry on a speed out under Newsome. But Newsome, that first-round pick, an exciting player that the coaches are really, really thrilled about.
Yeah, so far so good through what we've seen him, and you get a little bit where he's getting things used to. He's getting used to some of the things in the defense. So there's been a couple of times where he's been lost, but smart kid out of Northwestern. A lot of people are excited about him.
Yeah, I talked with defensive back coach Jeff Howard, and he told me, look, he'd been in Minnesota with some big-time players. Trey Waynes out of Michigan State, Xavier Rhodes, and he said Newsome as a rookie has the highest football IQ and the most confidence I've ever seen, and he's a guy who can play inside and outside for this team as Mayfield swings one out to Kareem Hunt, who gets some running room before running in to Mac Wilson and then Sheldrick Redwine as well. And today in that safety room, which we're going to look at, Ronnie's out, and Grant's getting a day off. So you're seeing John Johnson, the newest member, along with Sheldrick Redwine, who made some big plays for the Browns at important times, interceptions in that wild card win over the Steelers amongst them, and a guy who's going to get some nice first-team reps today in this work.
It's a big day for Sheldrick Redwine. This is a big camp for him. He's a guy who's had a couple of chances here and there and has shown up. I'll tell you, just looking at Anthony Walker just for a second, he's a guy who threw me off at the beginning because I'm looking around and going, what's number 4 doing on defense?
That's right.
Oh, yeah, we're allowed to change around jerseys. That's Anthony Walker, so that's all right. And I know we'll talk about it later, the work that Mac Wilson's done. He brings a veteran presence, Anthony Walker does, into this defensive room, and especially into the linebacker room with him and Malcolm Smith. There's a lot of things that they got to learn, and especially with a guy like Mac Wilson. But you mentioned that secondary and what you have with Sheldrick Redwine. Big day for him, big day to start to learn the defense and see if he can find a spot on this 53-man.
Yeah, right now you'd look at him, you'd probably say he's the 4th safety in that mix, a guy who has played throughout his multi-year career here with the Cleveland Browns, former 4th-round pick out of the University of Miami. And what you're seeing, and this is what we talked about, 7-on-7, it's an offensive drill. The ball not supposed to hit the ground. It's coming out quick, and right now a lot of underneath stuff. And there's D'Ernest Johnson back with the Browns yesterday. Congratulations to D'Ernest on the birth of his first child. That's That's why he missed the first 2 days of camp. But he's back, and he's a guy that, you go back to the game against Indy last year. It was 3rd and 9, right around the 2-minute warning, and they said, we've got to get this first down to ice this game. They gave it to Dearness Johnson. That's when Nick Chubb was out. The first game he missed, he picked it up. A guy who's done a lot as a returner, as a runner. He's got the trust of Sump Mitchell, and that makes for an interesting running back room now, because you got Chubb, you got Kareem Hunt, you got Dearness, but Demetric Felton, is he a running back? Is he a receiver? Is he a returner? The answer to those, yes, he's all of the above.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned him, because I know that that's one that a lot of people will want to tear the lid off of and see what you really have in him. But when you talk about Dearness, what's he going to bring to the table? What's he going to bring to the offense? Because we all know about Kareem Hunt. We all know about Nick Chubb. Everybody loves Nick Chubb. But who's going to be somebody who throws off a defense? Who's going to be the guy who changes the way that we think about what a team does to get ready for the Cleveland Browns offense? Because all the usual suspects are there. Everybody loves those players. It's about what are you going to do to make a defense wish they had spent 5, 10 extra minutes just watching. That's what Dearness Johnson's doing today.
Yeah, and Dearness is such a special guy. You think about his story on a fisherman boat, which is just ridiculous, to the fact that he's come here, played his way onto this team 2 years ago. Last year was in a camp bottle for a spot, won it, and now he's doing the same thing again, and he's a guy that you have to root for. You want to see him have success. I know you guys aren't hard of seeing, so what do you see here? This is the Pro Shop item of the day. It's the 1946 hat. It is on sale for $19.95. All proceeds going to the Cleveland Browns Foundation, and it's a beaut. I mean, you put this thing on here. Ooh, it fits like a glove. Look at that.
She's fantastic.
Would
I got
you?
it right here.
And how about this 1946 logo?
Oh.
It's a beautiful logo celebrating the first year of the Cleveland Browns as we're here on our 75th anniversary. You could go to Odell Beckham Jr. walked by. There he is. How you doing, Odell?
Feeling
Love
good.
to hear it. Looking good. Feeling good. That's what you want to see, Billy Ray and Odell Beckham Jr. That's what happens on Browns Live Training Camp. You never know who's going to show up. Odell just strolling by. And by the way, that's got to be one of the big storylines. And by the way, go ahead. Get to the Pro Shop right now. Not right now. After this training camp live's over, and then you see Odell strolling around, pick up the hat. You're going to like it. You're going to feel good about it. But Odell Beckham Jr., we'll talk about him a little later on. He has looked phenomenal in his return from that torn ACL. Don't go anywhere. When we return, we're going to take an in-depth look at the linebacker position. It was a big tease from Ken earlier telling you we're going to dive in there when we return on Browns Live Training Camp presented by CrossCountry Mortgage. All right, we are back. It's Browns Live Training Camp presented by CrossCountry Mortgage. Look at the fans in attendance. It feels real. It gives you that energy. NathanZegura alongside Ken Carman. And right now, Ken, it's time for us to do our Browns roster battle presented by Discount Drug Mart. And today we're going to focus on the linebackers. And that's a position group that I think is really interesting because not only are guys competing to make this roster, they're competing to get on the field.
We went from a position group that was open, just wide open, to now with the change in defense, now it's a very difficult argument about who's going to make this team and who's not. I mean, if you're looking at this defense, you and I have been discussing throughout the spring about where they're going to be because Joe Woods, now you opened my eyes to this, and I don't mean to go too far in the weeds. You opened my eyes to this during the draft. You said Joe Woods wanted to run over 400 snaps a dime defense in 2020. Right. How many snaps did he run in 2020 in dime?
16
snaps in dime. So when we talk about Joe Woods and we talk about this defense, I think it's even more amazing. You go 11-5 and you go as far as you did where really you're playing defense with one hand tied behind your back. Now you bring in defensive players that you got out of the draft. You get a couple of linebackers in there. Anthony Walker, we already talked about him and the type of leadership that he brings to this. I'm guessing about 6, like you might have said. I think that I'll stay right there with that because special teams is a big issue. And I think that part of the athleticism here that's changing here is before, all right, defensive backs, wide receivers because of special teams. Now, if you got guys who are good in coverage as far as linebackers, maybe you want to use them in special teams, Nathan.
Yeah, and those are the guys you're going to see on the field more often. Look, let's be honest about it. The base defense in the NFL is now nickel. That means you're going to see 2 linebackers on the field in dime, and the Browns can do a variety of dimes. They can do 3 safeties, 3 corners, 4 corners, 2 safeties. That could be 1 linebacker on the field. Of course, the traditional base defense, as you see Mac Wilson there, would be 3 linebackers on the field. So 6. Let's work with that number.
Yeah.
Anthony Walker Jr. is here. We heard John Johnson III earlier this week talking his availability about how Anthony Walker Jr. is going to be calling this defense for the team. So he's your likely starter at Mike linebacker. And this is a guy who in that role is a full-time every down linebacker for the Colts, averaged 107 tackles over the last 3 seasons. And we know what he meant there. Just listen to what Darius Leonhardt had to say about him on his way out the door. And then you're talking about Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who's not out there as we look at linebacker coach Jason Tarver, who's got a real competitive room. Owusu-Koramoah, many think the steal of the draft, falls to the second round. The Browns come up, they get him. He is athletic. He can cover as well. And Owusu-Koramoah, though, right now not practicing on that COVID list. And then you got that trio of guys who have been around. We all know the names. Mack Wilson, Taki, who had a great year last year. Jacob Phillips, who's a name you hear when people say, who's going to take a leap for you? The veteran Malcolm Smith. Elijah Lee, who led your team in special teams tackles a year ago. We've just given you 7 names. These are going to be tough decisions, not to mention Tony Fields, your draft pick out of West Virginia.
Oh, my goodness, because I was thinking about it. I was like, well, I can see maybe where Mack Wilson's going to have a tough time.
He's had a great offseason.
He's had a great offseason. I think he showed up and played decently. Could talk a little bit about him in the future. But one guy that I think has been fantastic so far, and I know he ended up getting a tip pick yesterday, but I have to highlight him, and I know he's a favorite of yours, is Elijah Lee. And I know he might be, if you look at where the depth chart was previously for last year, you go, well, where's he going to be in 2021? He has had a very nice start to camp. Now, we'll see what happens when they put on pads, but this has all of a sudden become a tough decision to make. If you're looking at 6, maybe 7, I think it's like 6 when it comes to linebacker spot. This is really tough because Mack Wilson has had a very nice offseason, and now you got to pay attention to Elijah Lee and your rookie in Tony Fields.
Yeah, and Tony Fields battling a foot injury, not out there as the Browns back now in 11-on-11 action. We're going to bring that to you here on Browns Live Training Camp presented by CrossCountry Mortgage. It's the Sione Taki. Last year, Pro Football Focus's number 2 graded run linebacker in the league, 13th overall, and showed improvement in coverage. And you saw that right there. That'd be a minimal gain on the flare out to Andy Janovich. Had that pick 6 against the Philadelphia Eagles when he was the captain in that game, and also picking the playoff win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. But you mentioned Elijah Lee, and I think that's an interesting one. A lot of guys that were our core special teams players last year have departed this offseason. Think of Tavier Thomas, Tay Davis, a couple of them. Elijah Lee is probably Mike Prefer's most trusted, most reliable special teams guy. Led the team in special teams tackles a year ago with 8. And so if he makes the team, it might not even be to play linebacker per se as much as it is to be on special teams. As Demetric Felton gets the hand, you see the little shiftiness that he's got there, those jump cuts. And it always looks, a jump cut running back in number 25 always looks good, Ken.
I'm going to need to see some wide shots of the offensive lineman. You know that. But you go back to Elijah Lee. All right, if we're going to talk special teams with him, and I know we got a lot of time to pound this out, then where does Mack Wilson fit? Because I think he gets to the spot as quick as anybody that you could find. And I'd loved him coming out of Alabama, but can you wrap? Can you defend? Can you do those things? Because you went out and got Anthony Walker Jr. for a reason. Sione Taki, I didn't know what type of second year he was going to have. And he ended up being fantastic down the stretch for this defense. He was a pleasant surprise. In finding out, because last year I thought defensively it was going to be, all right, who's part of the future? I didn't know they'd go as far as they did last year. Who's part of the future on this defense? And then let's get the offense going in the right direction. And then Sione Taki shows up, and now he makes things nice for Browns fans, but very difficult for the rest of the linebacker room.
Yeah, you see right there, Kareem Hunt struggling to find a little running room. Again, the pads aren't on. It's hard to tell what's going on in the trenches. That's what you want to see. And we'll see that on Tuesday, and we'll be back for Browns Live on that Tuesday. So be sure to tune in for that one when the pads come on. That'll be the first padded practice of the season. But you mentioned Mack Wilson. And Mack Wilson's a guy that I think a lot of our fans, a lot of people maybe written off in this offseason when they saw the moves to bring in an Anthony Walker Jr. and a Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. And Mack has taken this offseason as seriously as anybody. His body is in the best shape he's ever been in. He is playing faster, and he's playing smarter. He's thrown himself into this playbook. He has worked extensively with linebacker coach Jason Tarver. He's attached himself to the hip of Anthony Walker Jr., and they are thrilled. If you were to say one of the guys that has helped themselves the most early in this offseason as Baker hits Jarvis Landry for a nice little catch and run game there in the 11-on-11 period. Mack Wilson on the defensive side of the ball has probably helped himself as much as anybody on this roster, Ken.
Mack's a kid who, in my business, what we do interviews. Mack's a kid that you just end up liking immediately.
That's right.
He's good for interviews. He's always got a smile. He's always willing to tell you, not about state secrets, but he's willing to give you a little bit of background there. So he's a guy that I gravitate towards and I like, but it's a big camp for him. I mean, he was at the start of his career, you're looking at a 5th-round guy out of Alabama that some people are saying, tweeners, they don't know necessarily where to put this kid. And then I thought he went out there, played with his head on fire, but made several mistakes. But Sione Taki, going back to him with how well he played, now fans are looking, all right, again, you can get to the spot. I see your helmet. I see your number. Can you come up with the stop to get them back off the field? So to say it's a big preseason for him, is an understatement. It's just, how do you fit within this defense? Because I know you have the physical capability to do so. It's, can you follow along with what Joe Woods is trying to do?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a big camp for all these linebackers. This is a position you don't want to take a day off. And I know Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah wishes he was out here. The team wishes that he was out here, but he's staying very involved in the meetings, because how you fit into this defense, first and foremost, is going to be how can you cover? How can you play in space? Because this is a team, look, we expect to be ahead. The changes that were made to this defense were to get pass rushers up front. It was to get better on the back end and to get linebackers that can run. As we see Case Keenum, a little play action, and throws one out there. And there's A.J. Green again. A.J. Green having a nice start to his camp yesterday. Came up with the tip ball that led to your Elijah Lee interception you referenced earlier. That's another PBU for him. And A.J. Green was a guy that was the top paid undrafted free agent in the NFL a year ago. The Browns really like the young man out of Oklahoma State, and he's competing now to be one of those backups on the outside. As you see number 59, Curtis Weaver, right next to him, who had a nice day yesterday as well. Some of these young players starting to make some plays in this Joe Woods defense.
You're loving these DBs, and I can tell why. And when you go back to A.J. Green, it's an easy name to remember. It's how's he going to fit inside, outside, and where are you going to put him at? Again, a special teams type of thought maybe you have with him. We'll see where he can end up on that side.
Yeah, you've got to. And as you talk about these linebackers, again, just kind of tie a bow on this. You know, Jacob Phillips, second-year player, was a third-round pick a year ago. Has to start week 17 at the Mike linebacker, make all the calls for the defense, racks up double-digit tackles in the game that sends the Browns ultimately to the playoffs with that victory over the Steelers. And internally, that's a guy that they say, we think he's going to make a big leap. He's added a lot of bulk to his body. He can cover and play in space. He's long and he's lean. He runs very well. You see Baker Mayfield there in the huddle as they come out now with the ones back in this 11-on-11 period. And in case you're wondering, no Miles today. He is down today, just kind of getting a veteran day off, as well as Tack McKinley, who was out here earlier and again keeps making plays off the edge, but looks like he might not be able to finish practice for the second consecutive day as he's battling an illness that knocked him out yesterday. So you're seeing Clowney out there, and we haven't even talked about Jadeveon Clowney.
We haven't mentioned his name once.
Oh my goodness, and he's had a nice camp,
yes,
just in the backfield, and he's a guy, as you see Jacob Phillips as well. He's a guy that the Browns are counting on, A, to really help this run defense, but B, to help get after the quarterback. That's what we were talking about. A defense built to protect leads and be aggressive and make plays. When you have pressure from Miles and Clowney and McKinley and Malik Jackson, that means the ball's got to come out quicker. Your DBs can play tighter. Your linebackers and safeties, we've already seen John Johnson get one interception today, can go ahead and jump, be a little more aggressive, and come up with the football.
What Jadeveon Clowney brings to this, and we're seeing Andrew Billings right there, who I just love Andrew Billings just because of the size and the footwork and everything.
The girth of that man, Ken.
I ain't gonna lie. We were watching him the other day, and I'm like, if he were 6'6", he'd be Ted Washington. And I see him there at 6'1", and he just moves like a cat. Already is a guy that I love. But going back to Jadeveon there, this is a guy who has been, I think, maligned by the media his entire career, because what he's done has never been enough for guys like me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we're always coming up with hot takes. Ever since the hit against Michigan in the Outback Bowl, it's always been what's next. And you see what he was able to do at Houston, what he was able to do in Seattle within stopping the run. If he doesn't get hurt in Tennessee, he's not a part of this Browns football team. But you still have a guy now who is, during his career, has learned not just to pass rush, but to make himself viable in stopping the run, being able to play inside as well as outside and still retaining some of that quickness to do so.
Yeah, he's going to be a lot of fun to watch because he's going to be opposite Miles. He's going to sometimes be inside next to Miles. And right there, what you saw was a tight end screen to Harrison Bryant. And the Browns want to incorporate more screens, I think, into their offense. If you think about the second half of last year, it was a screen on third down to ice the game against the Jacksonville Jaguars and secure your win. It was a screen to Nick Chubb for 40 yards and a touchdown that really kind of put the nail in the coffin against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But what I noticed on that one, and what you're going to see a lot when you come out here, when you watch Browns live training camp as well, it's the closing speed. It looked for a second like Harrison Bryant had some room, and then all of a sudden the defense is flying in as you see Troy Hill fly from his cornerback spot right in there. Great shot. Great work by our camera guys there with Odell Beckham Jr. in the background. Troy Hill, the Youngstown native, making big plays, coming in. He's likely to be the starting slot corner for your Browns. And as you see Jeff Howard, the DB coach there, excited. One of the things they liked about him and all these DBs, they're not afraid to come up in run support.
Troy Hill, the first thing I'm going to ask when I interview him is if he's going to be a hot dog shop guy or a jib jab guy or a Jays guy. We know John Greco loves Jays out there in Youngstown. It's a great triumvirate of big fighting when it comes to some of those hot dog shops. But in all seriousness, and how this defense runs, You know, one of the things that I think that we have to pay attention to in years past, the defense has been ahead of the offense in a lot of ways because we've had new quarterbacks, we've had new offensive linemen, we've had new head coaches who have had an offensive philosophy. There's been a difference. Now we see how this is Jacob Phillips shows up big.
How about that's Jacob Phillips in coverage
Yeah.
on a wide receiver step for step right there. And those are the kind of plays that are going to resonate with Joe Woods and Jason Tarver. That's how you get on the field right there. Show you can cover.
Yeah, it's going to be to see how this defense plays with Joe Woods, and it's going to be something that I repeat throughout this entire training camp. Is how far along are they going to be? Because week one's going to be a test. The entire first month of the season is going to be a test. How they play together against one of the top offenses in the NFL, getting them ready for another one of the top offenses in the NFL in Kansas City could pay dividends for how quickly this defense adjusts to one another and gets them set to take on the AFC North.
And that's what's going to be fun is that week one, you know, you talk about this defense, and I think the big story of training camp, and we're going to monitor it throughout training camp here in the 2-minute drills and on Browns Live, is how does this defense gel? Because there is no tougher test in the National Football League than what you're going to see week one, September the 12th in Kansas City against the two-time reigning AFC champions led by Pat Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, if there's one thing, and this is our good friend, the Hoff, Joe Thomas, he told me, look, we have tape on their offense. We have tape on their defense. They have tape on our offense. They have no tape on this defense.
That's true.
They don't know what the scheme's going to look like. They don't know what the personnel is going to look like. They haven't seen this. Oh, that's a nice little keeper right there. Fooled our camera guy to Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's had a very strong start to camp, Ken. I know he's a guy you're saying, telling everybody when you're like, I'm buying DPJ stock.
He's looked like he put on the good weight, too.
Yeah, he
looks like he's got the good strength going on.
Body looks tremendous there with Donovan Peoples-Jones as we continue to bring you the action here. But first, want to remind you, participate in the Browns 50-50 raffle. You can visit Browns5050.com. And if you do that, remember, half the proceeds are going to benefit shoes and clothes for kids. The other half, and the Browns Stay in the Game Network, the other half goes right into your pocket, folks. The 50-50 raffle, go to Browns5050. That's Browns5050.com. The drawing will be on Sunday, August the 22nd. Don't go anywhere because we're going to be right back with more practice analysis, and we're going to dive into Football 101 still to come as the tunes come, the energy gets going. We're on the CrossCountry Mortgage campus, and earlier I had a chance to sit down with a lifelong Browns fan and CEO Ron Leonhardt Jr. Take a listen. Well, here we are in the CrossCountry Mortgage campus, and I'm sitting down with the CEO of CrossCountry Mortgage, Ron Leonhardt Jr. And Ron, welcome to the Browns family, the newest partner and a big partnership, one that's pretty special. And for you growing up, a diehard Browns fan, we've seen the pictures of you in jerseys as a young man. What does it mean to be sitting here right now knowing that it's real? Here we are in your facility.
Yeah, super excited. I've been a lifelong Cleveland Browns fan, and this is like really the closest I can come to playing for the Browns is, you know, having a sponsorship with them. So I'm super excited about it, and looking forward to a great partnership.
So what did it mean to you growing up, you know, here being a Browns fan?
You know, ever since I could remember, it's the Browns has always been a part of my daily life, whether it was, you know, going to games, opening up Christmas presents for the Browns. But again, it's just been a lifelong passion. And again, you know, my father was a huge Browns fan, his brothers, his uncles. So again, this has been, you know, kind of a rite of passage.
Yeah, and now here you are, partnering with the Browns. What does that mean to you when you think about growing up as a Browns fan and now the Browns facility? Every time somebody comes here to go training camp, they see CrossCountry Mortgage campus.
You know, just to have your name associated with the Browns is it's a great feeling. I think it's great for the company. It's great for me personally, but I think it's really great for the community as well. I mean, I went to school at BW, and so it's kind of great that I actually can get the training facility named after us because, again, I've actually practiced in here before too, so it's great.
By the way, you look like you're ready for some more practice.
I'm ready for a tryout.
Absolutely. I know in seeing some of the videos in your office, you have a couple of autographed Browns jerseys on the wall, some legends there. What's kind of the story behind those jerseys and letting everybody know, hey, this is a Cleveland company?
Yeah, I think at a halftime, you know, at one of the Browns games, I bought the Ozzie Newsome, Jim Brown jersey, 2 all-time greats, and you know, we hung them up in our conference room to represent, make sure everyone knows we're from Cleveland, we're Browns fans, and you know, it's good that people know where we're from.
What do you think about the fact that Jim Brown has an office in the CrossCountry Mortgage campus?
I think it's awesome, right? Like, I mean, again, another great legend, and just to have our name associated with it feels great.
Welcome back into Browns Live Training Camp presented by CrossCountry Mortgage. NathanZegura along with Ken Carman, and as the Browns like to do, because we all know what we've been through over the last year plus with this pandemic, we like to honor our frontline workers. As a part of our Hats Off to Our Heroes program, our Katie Prefer was standing by with one of our local heroes.
Thanks, Nathan. I'm here with Jill Lemmerman, the Deputy Commissioner of Recreation for the City of Cleveland Parks and Recreation Department. Jill, in what ways has your department helped the City of Cleveland throughout the pandemic?
In several ways. First of all, when we start these positions in the City of Cleveland Division of Recreation, we know that we're public servants. So our main job is to serve the citizens of the City of Cleveland. So prior to the pandemic actually starting, what we did is we went door to door, just notifying residents, letting them know what the dangers were of COVID. After that, we started with teaming up with the Public Health Department. And what we did was we ran the pods. We did all the logistics. And so our staff was very selfless, and they volunteered their time. We were there 10, 12 hours a day during the week, on weekends, just trying to make sure that our residents were vaccinated.
Absolutely. So obviously getting vaccinated is super important to help stop the spread of COVID-19. So how did you help get Cleveland residents vaccinated this spring?
Well, we were just trying to go out door to door and spread the news about how important it is. And then again, we also were the logistics for the pods. We partnered with the Department of Health, and so our rec centers were open and the public came in. We gave probably thousands a day for several weeks, months. And so we were the ones that were just, welcoming the people, letting them know the importance, making sure that everything was okay as they came in.
That's amazing. I just wanted to give a big thank you to you and your department for all your work throughout the pandemic. And I know the Browns are so appreciative of your hard work, and we are so excited for you to be here today.
Well, thank you so much.
Back to you, Nathan.
Right, thanks, Katie. And there with one of our frontline heroes, part of our Hats Off to Our Heroes program, and it's certainly great to see. We couldn't have made it through, and listen, we still have a lot of work to do. Everybody needs to stay safe, get the vaccine if you're able to do so, so that we can all stay safe and enjoy this season and really enjoy each other. It's great to be so close to you, have all these fans out here, and that's the goal. As the Browns getting back into some 11-on-11 work here, we're going to go ahead and check that out. You see Baker Mayfield dropping back, looking left, throwing underneath to Jamarcus Bradley. Jamarcus Bradley's a guy who's had a nice little start to camp, and you'd have to say right now, looking at the roster, probably a little bit of a long shot to make this team, but he was on our practice squad last year, and we all remember the game against the Jets. We didn't have any wide receivers. We're doing walkthroughs in parking garages, and Jamarcus Bradley got called up, started that game, and ended up leading the Browns in receiving.
I love him. I absolutely love him. I think that he's one of my guys that I want to watch. I know he's a long shot, so I don't want to have my heart broken someday. But I tell you, a guy that when you mention him being called up and brought in there, I love, Fun Belt guys, things like that. So I like to pay attention to him. He's had a good camp so far. But again, no pads, no running into each other so far. It's easy to have a good camp. But I just look at him, Jamarcus Bradley looking at him, Alexander Hollins is a guy I mentioned before. And there you see DPJ again. It'd be great to see him have another nice developmental year coming out of the 6th round out of Michigan.
You think about Donovan Peoples-Jones, and I think people forget this was the #1 high school wide receiver recruit in the country. He ends up going to Michigan. Things don't necessarily work out, but you talk about size, you talk about speed, you talk about smarts. That's what Chad O'Shea and Kevin Stefanski talk about. He immediately knew how to run every position for them, and when they called on his number, remember it was in Dallas. He wasn't supposed to play that game. Kadarrell Hodge gets hurt in warmups. He comes in his first play. He's run blocking, pancakes a guy, and the rest is history. His first catch in the NFL comes off of the hand of Jarvis Landry in that game against Cincinnati. He would go on to make the game-winning catch in that game, which I think was one of the biggest plays of the entire 2020 Cleveland Browns season. You see Case Keenum looking, checking it down, and there's Mac Wilson right there as D'Ernest Johnson makes the catch. But what you saw in that little post there from Donovan Peoples-Jones, he's 6'2", he's 215. He's running the route nicely, and then he's using his body to shield the defender, Greedy Williams, who was in good position to make the catch, and you can't teach that.
No, and I'll just come out and say what it is that he's a guy who I don't want to say anything too crazy about Jim Harbaugh. He's the poster boy of what Michigan football's been. Where if he goes to Ohio State, I don't know. He's not there in the 6th round again.
No, there's a lot of people think he'd be a first-round pick.
Yeah, he's not there in the 6th round again. You get that guy in the 6th round, you see where he is. If he ends up, and I think that he's got the potential to be a very nice wide receiver in this league. I mean, at some point, 700 to 900 yards, maybe 1,000 yards by the time it's all said and done. I think he's got that potential. I think he shows you just kind of some of the problems, if you pay that close of attention to college football, kind of where the problems have been with Michigan lately.
There's no doubt, and he's a guy as we get to a fan question. Now, we'll always take your questions on Browns Live. The show is about you, the best fans in all of professional sports, and this one comes to us from Magoo8T, we'll call it. Browns Live, how many rookies do you see starting or getting a lot of playing time this year? And the answer is not many. I think that there are 2 that have a chance to start. You got Greg Newsome, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and then I think you're going to have some role players coming out of that group. But 2 in significant playing time. Anthony Schwartz, what do you see for him? I think Mecole Hardman in Kansas City, 10 to 15 snaps, stretch him horizontally, stretch him vertically.
You took it from me. I think that that's probably what he is, and I think that that's a comparison you make with him. The other one, I want to see what Demetric Felton can do. It's just first off getting him on the 53 because it is a tight running back room and wide receiver room. And then the other one I would have to say is James Hudson. Now, it makes it easier to like him because his father's a Browns fan, so that's going to make things easier. But what you look at on offensive lines is you want to see him be able to develop during the preseason. Obviously, give us a good reason to keep him on the roster, and there should be one. And then he becomes a guy who develops over the next couple of years that as things start to change with the cap, then you're able to put him in a starting role.
Yeah, we hope we don't see James Hudson at all this year. That would mean there would be an injury. And he's been working as the second-team left tackle so far this season behind Jedrick Wills. Also some time at right tackle, Ken.
And I'm an idiot. I didn't even think about it. Tommy Togiai.
Tommy Togiai.
Yeah,
Yep.
I didn't even mention him, especially with where defensive tackles are, with how this defense is going to run. There's a lot of long drives in the NFL. We know this defense is going to be a lot better. We expect to get off the field a lot more than where we were in 2020. But I still think that Tommy Togiai is going to make a difference, being able to play big, take on double teams. Joe Thomas said this, that Malik Jackson's a good player, but he's not necessarily a double team fighter. Tommy's known for taking on double teams. Did that at Ohio State, did that in high school, will do this in the NFL, and will open up opportunities for Myles Garrett and hopefully Jadeveon Clowney as he works his way into the rotation.
Many say the best football player to ever come out of the state of Idaho, Tommy Togiai, the first one from Idaho to go
Be Uncle
to
Rico,
the Ohio State.
Then Tommy Togiai.
Well, of course,
that's
no doubt.
how that works.
No doubt in my mind. That's right. Tommy Togiai is an interesting one because a lot of people thought if he maybe stayed at Ohio State one more year, he's a first-round pick in next year's draft. You see a nice little pass on the out there to David Njoku from Baker Mayfield. But Togiai so strong, 40 reps at 225, a guy that is kind of a natural penetrator. And if you remember that game against Clemson last year, he dominated that game up front. He wrecked the game. And so the Browns like him. And you look at Andrew Billings next to him. I know you like Big Andrew, but Tommy Togiai is a guy who I think is going to try to push Andrew Billings here, not only this year, but into the future for this Cleveland Browns team to get himself on the field. And that defensive tackle room, we're going to get into that room on another show. That'll be one of the positions we really focus on because that's an interesting room and all of a sudden very crowded. But Togiai is a guy who can play his way into a big role. I think it's Newsome and it's Owusu-Koramoah they have naturally big plans for. I think there's a role carved out in their minds for the speed of Anthony Schwartz. And then beyond that, it's going to be up to guys forcing themselves into action. And Felton, even though he was the last pick, might be amongst the most intriguing with his versatility.
Maybe 6. You got about 5 guys there, maybe 6. There's going to be guys that pop up during the season because it happens because of injuries, but you're looking at about 5 guys, maybe 6 altogether with the rookies.
Yeah, the good news is we are very, very healthy. This one comes from Mike Womack 1 as we take your questions, as we always do on Browns Live. Who will be the starting linebackers and which rookie will make the biggest impact? And we talked about this linebacker room, and I think there are going to be multiple quote-unquote starters. I think as it stands right now, we know Anthony Walker. What do you see maybe in some of these base looks, some of the nickels, some of the dime, Ken?
I think if it's just a base, and I printed one out from last year, but all these guys are still here. I think Sione makes a great case. Anthony Walker goes without, and I like Jacob Phillips, man. I really do. I really like this kid. So I think that he's a guy who could step up. If you're talking dime, nickel, you're taking a couple of those out. Who's still calling shots? Anthony's still good. He's still going to be the guy that's in coverage. And then I think you're still looking at Sione, and I think you're still looking at Jacob Phillips to back that up. And then hopefully We'll see where Malcolm Smith ends up, and then Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, do you line him up back in the secondary at times? Do you have to bring him up to run support as well?
I think that's going to be the wild card, right? He's a guy that can play that will linebacker, that overhang linebacker. Think about what Fred Warner did in San Francisco. That's how they envision Owusu-Koramoah. And by the way, Fred Warner just got paid a nice sum, and Joe Wood saw him up close and personal in his days with the 49ers. So it's going to be interesting. I think Walker Jr. you pencil in, but the sub packages and even the base, I think really are still up for grabs, and that's why watching this camp and the iron sharpening iron is going to be so fascinating as we continue to progress here on Browns Live Training Camp, and as you continue to get all that coverage at clevelandbrowns.com and of course on the Browns mobile app. The Browns looks like they're transitioning there out of that team period into another special teams period. Looks like Cody Parkey getting ready to put some balls up, and hopefully he gets it right through the uprights. That's what we like to see. But don't go anywhere, because when we come back here on Browns Live Training Camp presented by CrossCountry Mortgage, JoelBitonio will join us after the conclusion of practice. We'll do a little football 101 and continue talking about what is an exciting, deep, talented roster here for your 2021 Cleveland Browns.
And I'm here with Mike Macauda, the president of the Wildcat Youth Football Club. This program was the recipient of helmets from the Browns at the Rookie Tackle Showcase. Mike, how excited are you for the kids to have these helmets?
This was great for our club, for our youth, to have 50 new football helmets donated to them. It provided us the opportunity to equip our club with all brand new, state-of-the-art helmets this year.
Yeah, that's amazing. So how do these helmets benefit the youth football program?
Well, the last couple of years with the COVID pandemic, fundraising that we used to purchase equipment, helmets, uniforms, shoulder pads, was down because businesses were affected by everything that was going on. So our fundraising was limited, and with the donation given to the Browns and Zenith helmets, it really helped our club in regards to supplying the youth with equipment.
Absolutely. I just wanted to thank you for your efforts in helping spread the joy of football to the youth, and I just wanted to thank you for your continued support with the Cleveland Browns.
Thank you very much.
Back to you, Nathan.
All right, thanks, Katie. For more information on that, you can go ahead and check out clevelandbrowns.com/youthfootball. That was our helmets program there. We do that every single year, and it's great to see the Mayfield Wildcats getting some nice snazzy helmets. Great community.
Wonderful community.
Yes.
I love it out in
Yes.
Mayfield. I don't get there nearly enough.
I often make sure to support the Mayfield Road economy. That's what
You
I
should.
do.
You absolutely should.
That's right, as should you. And here we go, taking a look now, some special teams, some kick returns. Dearness Johnson, who did that very well for the Browns a year ago, taking that one. And that's going to be an interesting battle. This is a true position battle to see who ends up being the returners for this football team.
You notice this for a second. We can't back it up, but you notice this for a second. We first came out of the Great Talk. Is you had Jamie Gillen helping out Dearness Johnson, pointing out whatever. Well, I mean, I'm sure he wasn't just talking to him. There had to be some sort of instruction there. So he's trying to get the feel of, all right, maybe if the ball comes off this way, what exactly to do, and exactly how Dearness Johnson should receive, and exactly where Dearness Johnson wants to go with it. Because, again, finding returners, finding special teams guy, it's a way to get a paycheck in the NFL. It's a way to make a living, and it's obviously a way to make the team.
Listen, when you are the third or fourth running back, when you are the fifth or the sixth receiver, when you are somebody, a fifth or sixth cornerback, the fourth safety, the fifth or sixth linebacker, the fourth tight end, you make this team because of what you can do on special teams. You must contribute. You cannot be a guy who is not contributing on special teams. And by the way, you guys see, we've shifted over a little bit. That's because JoelBitonio is going to be joining us here live on set in just at the conclusion of this practice. And there's your guy.
I feel like baby in the corner.
Yeah, nobody puts baby in the corner. Nobody. Yeah. There's your guy, Demetric Felton, and he was the all-purpose yardage leader in the Pac-12 a year ago. He ran it, he caught it, and he did returns for UCLA. Shifty, explosive, as you see the hammer there. And Demetric Felton, a guy who's had a very nice rookie minicamp. He had a very nice mandatory minicamp. And he's had a very good start as well to this training camp. You just see when he gets the ball in his hands, the hammer with a little rugby toss there. You saw that?
It's like
rugby.
He's coaching too.
It takes a village, Ken. It takes a village. Mike Preiford would be the first to tell you that. It takes a village in special teams. And the Browns even yesterday were practicing. They want to be prepared for every scenario. It's one of the 4 Ps, the preparation. They were having the hammer practice those intentional safeties to run out the clock at an end of a game where the only thing that can hurt you is a block punt return for a touchdown. Let's just go ahead and run it, hop it out there, thinking leaving no stone unturned, because this is the kind of team with this kind of talent where it can come down to one play, one piece of situational football can be the difference between winning and losing. And I love that the Browns pay such close attention to all three phases.
Yeah, you have to. You absolutely have to, because it's one of those things those silly things that I end up on a Monday morning having to talk about that I never thought we'd have to talk about, and we've seen them all every single week in the NFL, so it pays off to pay attention to little things because you never know when you're going to need them.
That's right. The fine attention to detail, that can be the difference in NFL games. You look at Mike Prefer, and Mike Prefer, not only a special teams ace, he was the one man who was on the sidelines, the head coach, the acting head coach for the Browns' playoff win over Pittsburgh, one that meant certainly a great deal to him. And Mike Prefer saying, that's it. He's seen enough of that special teams drill, Ken.
Off they go. He's going to save me a lot of problems this year. He's going to do me a lot. He's going to save me a lot of problems when it comes to having to take some of those angry calls coming up on a Monday morning there. So it's great to see them all getting together. It looks like this one, could this be the end of it from what it looks like here? As Kevin Stefanski brings them all together and starts to talk to all these players, and we're starting to walk around. We'll have JoelBitonio on at some point. Jadeveon Clowney talking to the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski there. So another day looks like it's about in the books, and it's feeling pretty good for your Cleveland Browns as we get set to put on the pads here in a little bit and get going for another 2021 Higgy campaign.
You're right. I can't even
talk right now. It takes his breath away.
It took my breath away.
Look,
I
he's
can't
so
even
excited.
speak the excitement.
He's emotional over these special teams,
I'm
everybody.
crying. Day 4 of camp in the books. Coach talking to everybody.
There we go.
Pads next Tuesday. Let's go, Ken.
We're crying. It's day 2 with all the fans out here. What are we going to be doing in the future?
Who knows? It's hard to say.
Nicholas Sparks wrote this training camp. This is amazing.
I'm an emotional guy, and you know what I love? A wedding. I love going to a wedding. I love crying. And you know what we're going to talk about right now? Football 101.
Yes.
The marriage of the run and pass, Ken.
Tell me more.
The marriage of the – we're going to talk with JoelBitonio about that in a second when he joins us. But it is Kevin Stefanski's offense. This is your Football 101, the marriage of run and pass. You didn't think we were talking weddings, but we are.
I've officiated weddings. I'm officiating the wedding between the run and the pass. Let's do it.
Minister Carman.
Yeah.
Let's have it all look the same. That's the goal. It's the detail-oriented. All the run action, all the pass action, it just has to look the same, and then you can fool the defense. That's the whole point of it.
Well, this has been a team that's been run heavy. And you're a football guy. You talk to these coaches every day. No, let's call it what it is. You're a football guy. You talk to these coaches every day.
I'm not doing up-downs out here at training camp, Ken.
I will reserve my commentary for other air. I don't want to have commentary about another NFL team while we're here talking about
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Our fabulous Cleveland Browns. Anywho, in my world, there's been a lot of conversation about quarterbacks, a lot of conversation about Baker Mayfield. This has been a run-first team, and I say, so what? So what? What's the problem with winning 11 games in a 16-game season, having Nick Chubb get to 1,000 yards when he missed a lot of games, have Kareem Hunt, who blossomed in 2020 down the stretch. You saw how good he was in that playoff game against Pittsburgh. My goodness. What is the problem with that? What's the problem with having a good running game, play off a great play action game, play off a great 12, and we know 12 personnel, play off of that, and then being able to make Baker Mayfield a more effective quarterback, and in turn, because he's more confident, a more effective leader?
Well, yeah, and that's what marrying the run and pass is all about.
That's
it's having that good run action and then having the same action lead to those play action and those boots. But what's so great about this offense, they do that well. That's the core competency. And we'll talk with JoelBitonio. It's the detail. It's the steps. It's everybody working in concert that allows that to happen. And you have those great running backs. Look, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, only the 4th running back tandem in NFL history to have more than 1,200 total yards and 12 touchdowns in the same season in the same backfield. And they did that last year. But I will say this. We talked a lot about this being a play-action team. Look, second half of the year, Baker Mayfield, 20 touchdowns, 2 picks, top 5 in drop-back passing efficiency. They became a drop-back team, and we're going to see more of that. We're going to see more 5-wide, all of those things as you look over my shoulder, and it's exciting now. It's exciting. JoelBitonio having a sip of water, getting ready to come and join us right here on set, which is a very special moment. It's special for me. It's special for you. It's the first time we've been on a set with JoelBitonio.
Here he comes.
Since the year 2019.
And a surprise.
Oh, my goodness. Would you look at that beautiful, beautiful jersey.
This is great.
fit to perfection too.
Oh,
Look
my
at
goodness.
that.
Look at that.
It's
That thing looks
gorgeous. Yeah, we'll
fantastic.
hold this up. And you know what?
Here, I'll be your Ed McMahon. I'll hold it. Go ahead.
Go to the
You
pro
guys-
shop.
Yeah, go ahead.
Shop online. Get these jerseys, because you know what's so great about these jerseys?
Yeah.
Not only are they beautiful, not only were you heavily featured in the campaign around these jerseys, which is spectacular, but all of the proceeds, when you go buy these at the pro shop, 100% of the proceeds go to the Browns Foundation to support Stay in the Game. That's right, 100%. The Browns will donate 100% of the proceeds towards the Stay in the Game program that helps kids get to school and stay in school by building awareness, supplying fundamental necessities like hygiene products, clothing, and digital connectivity for remote learning, as well as funding interventions that support engagement and attendance, such as mentorship, attendance, support teams, and tools to increase family communications. For more information, visit gettoschool.org. And it is just, it's a beaut.
The
It's a
stitching.
beaut, Clark.
I'm just going to say it's a good thing my grandmother's dead, because she would be so jealous of the stitching of this jersey. It's fantastic.
And
This is quality, folks.
If I could quote another iconic Cleveland movie when I looked at, you know what I think? It's
What's that?
indescribably beautiful.
That's exactly what it is. Oh, there's just
Joel!
one too many.
And now there he is. Look at now, when there were two of us, now there are three of us. JoelBitonio joining us here on Browns Live Training Camp, presented by CrossCountry Mortgage. And Joel, first of all, what a pleasure it is to be in your presence, in your proximity for the first time since 2019.
Feels real. You know, we're actually out here doing training camp against some fans. We're doing some post-practice interviews with you guys. So we're live. We're doing fine right now.
How about these fans coming out? They're loud already. What does that give you guys on the field?
Well, it makes it feel like training camp. You know what I mean? Like, we're actually out here in front of fans. Last year was a little bit quiet, but it's awesome, man. They're excited. They're pumped up. They're ready for the season, and rightfully so. You know, we're ready to work and get ready for that long season.
With this football team, you know, you're one of the elder statesmen on this
The.
offensive line. I didn't want to say that much. How much
On
is
the
your
team, longest tenured Brown. Let's go.
How much has your role changed here over this career with the Cleveland Browns, with this locker room and leading these guys forward?
It's crazy because I was thinking about the other day when I came into the league as a rookie. Joe Thomas was in his 8th season, and I was like, I'm going into my 8th year this year, and I was like, I thought Joe was so dang old when I walked in the locker room. You know what I mean? Like, comparative, and now I'm like, I guess I'm that guy, but like I still feel young. You know, I still feel good, and you just grow. But the thing about our line room is we have so many different personalities. Like JC's an older guy, Hub's an older guy, Jack, you know, Wyatt played last year. So we have a lot of guys that can help lead. But being here, being through the down times, you know, you kind of appreciate the wins and appreciate what it takes to actually, you know, turn this thing around. So we're in a good spot, and Coach says it all the time, though, but we got to work to get to where we want to be.
I couldn't help but give Nathan the kind of the Iggy right there, because I that's what I wanted to ask. I mean, I know you're looking forward to 2021. Just for what you've been through, the bad times to now the good times, what was 2021 like for you personally to see this thing come to fruition where you gave it your time and here you are personally?
Oh, it means everything. I mean, you play to win the game, you know, like they say. Like, you know, you play to win, and you know, I was blessed to play football and get paid for it, but, like, losing is not fun. Losing is not what we want to do, and I went through a lot of that. And so to come out of it, I appreciate every single chance we had to take the field and to get wins. And, you know, obviously I had the crazy COVID situation, so, but I got to play in the playoffs. I got to experience that, and, you know, against a team that went to the Super Bowl. And I know we can compete with those guys, but it means everything to be part of the turnaround and hopefully keep this thing going forever, you know.
Joel, you talk about entering your 8th season, and you know you've had a number of offensive coordinators, you had a number of offenses, you had a number of people behind you, a number of people in the huddle with you. Now it's the same. All of the coaches are back. All of the principal players on offense are back. This scheme is the same. Your quarterback is back. This kind of continuity, first time in your career, what's that like, being at a training camp, being like, I know all these people, and we've been doing this for a year already?
It's pretty cool. You know, you think about it, and really it's the first time I've had a true, like, same everything, like you said. And you can really work on the details. You know, the O-line, like, we're all coming back. And so Coach Callahan can I think he's probably watched, 10,000 hours of film this offseason, and we've seen every play that we ran last year 10 times, and he just has a new wrinkle or a new scheme that he's like, this is how we're going to get them if they try and do this, and we just can detail so much more. Me and JC can continue to grow as players. I know White and Jack are working together over there, and you just build this camaraderie, especially on the O-line, and then you got the guys like Nick and Kareem, and Odell's back out there running around. So it's it's real special. And I think it's great for Baker too, because he knows the terminology and he's in the offense. And so, we already got checks going in and stuff that you might put in week 3 or 4 of training camp, or not even until season. We already have some of that stuff in, day 4, day 5. So it's been really special.
So you've been able to hit the ground running, and you talk about this continuity and how nice that is for you. But we were talking earlier, football 101, the marriage of the run and pass. We were trying to educate the people. They don't want to hear from us. What does that mean? Because I know that it's Kevin Stefanski stresses it. I know you got hot folders that are just talking about the marriage of run and pass. So what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's our one of our pillars of offense. You know what I mean? We want to make our run plays look like pass plays, and our pass plays kind of look like run plays. And so, when you have those wide zone offense, you have to sell the linebackers, because then that opens up the crossing routes and things across the field. If you can pull those guys in for 2 or 3 steps, it's perfect. And Coach Stefanski, I've been with a lot of coaches, and he does a heck of a job explaining it. The O-line, their eyes and their body movements really sell it, because a lot of times O-line will just turn and run down the line, and the linebackers, we know it's a pass here. But, here we're selling it down the field a couple steps. You have a few yards to mess with, and so you can do that and get back down and do those things, and it pulls those guys up, and hopefully it opens up over the top. We want that backside defensive end on the outside zone. A lot of times he's unblocked, and so if Baker's going to keep it or is he going to hand it, and you put this guy in conflict, and now he doesn't know what he's doing. And so you have a huge cutback lane, or you have a boot open on the edge, hopefully.
This is what we're here for. Minister Carman was presiding. He's an ordained minister. He presided over the marriage of the run and pass earlier, but this was next level. Go ahead, Ken. Wrap it up for us.
Still one of the least surprising things. Real quick, how's the defense look? I know it's only been a couple of days, but it's just so many different players.
Yeah.
How's it looking to you guys up front?
I think athletic. I think we have a lot of guys that can run up there and move, and it's going to be fun to battle those guys. I mean, Clowney and Miles and Billings and Malik, like those 4 guys are guys that have a lot of experience in this league, and getting the battle against those guys every day is huge. But I think the linebackers are coming on. Walker's doing a good job of, kind of getting everybody in the right position, and it seems like they're moving fast, and so that's always a good thing.
Yeah, a lot of speed out there, but listen, sometimes when you can fool them, doesn't matter. You got to get those false steps in the marriage of the run and pass there, Joel. Thanks so much for being with us. Go get these beautiful 75th anniversary jerseys. JoelBitonio, get the posters. You're all on the posters.
Oh, man, it's great stuff.
What a treat. I mean, here you are facing the franchise stuff, Joel. It's wonderful. Thanks for being with us, and best of luck this year, man.
Thanks, guys.
All right. That was our player interview, our post-practice interview, brought to you by Global Transport. We really appreciate all of you being with us here on Browns Live Training Camp, presented by CrossCountry Mortgage. The next show will be Tuesday, August the 3rd, when the guys will be in full pads, and I know Joel and the O-line, they're looking forward to that. And you can catch, and Building the Browns, it debuts this Sunday as well on News 5 and the Browns YouTube channel, youtube.com/Browns. For Ken Carman. Ken, it's been a pleasure.
Lovely.
I can't wait.
As always.
We'll be back on You Got a Day Tuesday when Browns Live Training Camp, presented by CrossCountry Mortgage, returns.